this
What's he doing?
is to go even further beyond!
Hey guys, it's Mr. E, and I'm here to teach you some more about Hero Siege. So, you guys have been asking me for a video that will explain a little bit further beyond the tutorial of the game. So, here I am to teach you guys what it's like to move on to the harder difficulties. As you guys were clearing all the way up to the hardest difficulty, I'm assuming that you might have found some decent stuff. Some stuff you can find is traveler pieces, which when combined together create a set, which give you a movement speed increase and gives you the ability to fly. So, for the interest of this video, I currently have 0 relics, and I also figured that maybe you have no hero levels yet, so even though I have 400 points to spend, I have none of them plugged in to where it gives me any kind of benefit whatsoever. The only flight I do have, however, is from the Traveler set, so I do have that. Besides that, I'm wearing Mythics. I did create a rune word. This is something that you can make really easy, really early on, and I will show you guys how to make rune words in another video. Alright, so once you have hit level 100, I'm assuming you haven't gotten to the hardest difficulty yet, but one thing you should have done is definitely went over to the smith, went down and crafted yourself new mythics. This way you can have the top of the line damage and or armor and HP. As you grow in levels, so do gears, so you would want your level requirement on your gear to all be level 100 if possible. That way you're getting the most out of your stats. Once you have a decent set of gear on, that's when you need to look at one thing, and one thing most importantly, which is the actual stats such as damage reduction. I personally don't recommend going into the hardest difficulty without having somewhere between 15,000 and 20,000 damage reduction, and that's just at a minimum. The reason why is because the mobs can hit for a lot of damage, and if they're gonna, let's say they hit for like 20,000 damage in one hit, then you're gonna negate majority of that damage. So with that being said, the more you can negate, the more you can just stand there and attack and not take any damage. So somewhere between 15 and 20,000 is a very good start for moving into the hardest difficulty. As far as flat damage goes, that's something you'll have to work on over time through getting a better weapon, through upgrading your gear and such. You can't upgrade mythics. So if you want to upgrade any gear, you're going to have to first either find it, such as like set pieces, or satanics, or even crafting rune words. They can all be leveled up to 10 out of 10. And to upgrade, you'll have to use rubies. So you'll right click on the gear and you'll say upgrade when these pieces are already maxed, but if you have a piece that hasn't been leveled yet, you'll click upgrade and it'll ask you for an amount of rubies to upgrade. Assuming that you guys have collected rubies along your traveling and experience and grinding, should have some to be able to throw into the gear that you have found. And that's what I went ahead and did with these, was upgraded them. That way it made it easier for me to withstand the hardest difficulty. So some new things that have been added into the hardest difficulty are wormholes. Wormholes are something that Dr. Tinkerdink will open for you once you have reached the hardest difficulty. Whether or not that hardest difficulty is an Inferno, that's subject to change in the future. But let's just show you what it is, just for the hell of it. So, wormhole portal, go ahead and jump in. See if we can even handle it at the beginning. It looks like monster level 220 is level 1. And so far so good. Oh man, getting surrounded. Good thing I got damage reduction. See how my guy has a shield, like an overshield? It's because my Merc, his ability is to give me an overshield every once in a while. Based on how much HP he has, he converts it into a shield for me. Having this overshield can save your life. You can see that there's a bar up here on the top that is doing like a countdown. It's ticking. If that bar hits 0, then you can't move on to the next wormhole, because basically this is a time challenge and it wants you to beat the wormhole before the challenge timer ends. Once you've reached the boss at the end of their wormhole, be careful because they might have abilities, and they are different from all the other bosses you might find outside of the wormholes. So you'll walk over and you'll activate it. This one is Korga. You gotta watch out because he'll try to suck you in using his chain. And then also if he does a dash move at you, he can one-shot you, so watch out for that. As you can see, he has 22.7 million life. So this is going to be a battle that takes a little bit for me to do. Yay, we did it! Alright, so wormhole 1 completed. And you want to move on to the next wormhole, you just hit this button. You say, yes, I want to level it up. And then you just head back to town. Next time you go to talk to Dr. Tinkerdink, he will now ask you if you want to go to wormhole 2. And you just say, yeah. Technically, when you go to wormhole 2, you'll see that the monster level went up. So, there you go. I recommend, though, as a new player, to farm wormhole 1 over and over if you can. If you're looking for gear, it might not be easy if the wormhole portal requires you to have keys. Currently in Season 12, it does not require you to have keys. But moving forward, they might change it back. So, if that's the case, it's up to you to determine whether or not it's worth using keys to just do wormhole 1 over and over. Something new you'll only find inside the hardest difficulty are dungeon keys. Dungeon keys such as Smelly Cheese, Cellar Key, Tower Key, all these other keys are only found in the hardest difficulty. Smelly Cheese goes to Rat Den, Cellar Key goes to the Pumpkin Cellar, Tower Key goes to the Black Tower, Frosted Key goes to the Frozen Cellar. Chilled Key is not even used for anything. They haven't implemented anything into the game yet, so it's not used yet as far as Season 12 goes. Mystic Key is used for the Forgotten City. Rusted Key is used for Abandoned Mine. Shovel is used for the Sand Cave. Ancient Key is used for Ancient City. Tomb Key is used for the Cowflax Tomb. Devil's Key is used for Devil's Hole. Pickaxe is used for Fuji Crater. Battle Key is used for Kaojin Temple. And Cloud Key is used to get to Sheeponia. You guys might be wondering, what exactly is Sheeponia? Well, let me show you real quick. Inside of the town of Anoia, you might have noticed that there's this weird statue over here on the right side. Go ahead and walk over to it, and when you have the key, it says you can use it. If you use the key, it brings up a portal to Sheeponia. then you just walk straight in. In Sheeponia, it's a completely different area. The monster level is really high. You can see it's 666. This isn't recommended for somebody who just got to the hardest difficulty. It's a really good way to die, and this is something that maybe you can strive to make a goal for later. So hold on to your cloud keys, don't use them right at the beginning. It's not really worth it. The mobs, they do hurt really bad, and the boss, he also has a lot of HP. So yeah, I don't recommend trying to take this on at an early stage. So something else you might be able to find when you're in the hardest difficulty are some unique material pieces. These pieces being off of the act bosses. So Gearag's heart will drop off of Gearag, Death Sigil will drop off of Reaper, Damien's eye off of Damien, Anubis's Ankh off of Nubis, King Carp's belly button off of King Carp, and Satan's horn off of Satan. These are pieces that once you've collected one of each, you can come back to the town of Anoia. You can talk to and when you have all of the pieces, he will open up a secret portal to you called Fallen Anoia. Fallen Anoia is something that takes you to a boss called Uber Damien. Definitely not recommended for quite a while. It's as hard as Sheeponia, but the boss is a lot harder. I would say use caution, and if you decide to go in and fight this boss with a team, it's only going to be harder because his health goes up by like 1 billion a person. So yeah, don't recommend it. So one thing you'll find when exploring in the hardest difficulty is there are these portals that will be a circular portal. It's actually called Shadow Realm. So Shadow Realms are portals that take you to another dimension, and inside there is a black market merchant, and that black market merchant will sell satanic stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into this Shadow Realm and see what he's got. Every Shadow Realm is different, but one thing will always remain the same, and that's the shadowy merchant. He can be placed anywhere randomly on the map, but this just happens to be the spot that he was at for me. What you'll do is you go over to him and you'll click the buy button, and he'll offer you an assortment of either 1, 2, 3, or 4 different things that it could be for sale. It's completely random whether it's a weapon or a hat or a shield or whatnot. You'll never find a set item in here, ever. You'll never find a boss item in here, ever. But you will find random satanics, and this is a very good spot to be able to buy your first weapon or maybe a first satanic for your guy once you get to the hardest difficulty. This bow can't be used for me. Redneck can't use a bow, and I don't think I want to spend 32,500 rubies to buy it for my minion. As far as prices go in here, the lowest you're probably going to see is somewhere between 22,500 to 25,000. The highest you're going to see for an item in here is 100,000. So keep in mind when you're here looking through the market, you might find something super amazing, but it's 100,000 rubies and you don't have enough. You're just kind of out of luck unless you know somebody that will donate you the money. So when coming in here to look for things, just keep that in mind. With everything that I described to you in this video, I can't tell you what the best stats are for your character. I can't tell you what the best hero levels to plug in are, but there is many options, and you should go ahead and test out what works best for you. Towards the beginning of the hardest difficulty, I like to stack armor and HP. Eventually I'll plug in some damage, but that's just how it is. If you're gonna try to survive, you want to be tanky at the beginning. If you want to be glass cannon, you're just going to have to go straight DPS, but you have to risk taking hits after that. So if that's something that you want to do, by all means, go for it. It's completely open and you can do what you want. So once you guys have gotten to the hardest difficulty, there should have been some mining done throughout this process. I would hope, at least. If by chance you have made it up to the final mining requirement to be able to mine Ruby Ore, which is in the hardest requirement, I would say that you should come over to the smith here in town of Anoia, go to the mining section, and check to see what you can craft with Jade and or Ruby Ore, which is now something that you have unlocked now that you've reached that mining requirement. One of the things you'll see is that there is an option to craft a random Satanic. This will give you the option to possibly get a weapon, which the weapon is the most expensive to craft. But is it worth it? This is completely opinionated, and I don't know how to give you an answer specifically. I guess I would say if it was me, I'd probably save up and just craft just a weapon in general, because I don't trust the random RNG in this game. I've been screwed over way too many times. But for the sake of this video, I will go ahead and say that we saved up enough to just randomly craft a random. So let's go ahead and make one. Alright, so first thing that dropped out was a set piece. The set piece is looks like a emblem, which is a pendant, and it's only used for the Marauder. Well, unfortunately, we are now not able to use it. This piece cannot be equipped. Why? Because it says right here, Marauders only. I mean, it doesn't say only, but that's what this means. It means Marauder, that class can only use it. It's a set piece for the Marauder. It looks really nice. This would be great to put on my redneck. Unfortunately, it is not something that is accessible. So, what do you do with it? There's a couple options. One option is just go back to the smith, say sell, and then sell it for 2,500 rubies. You'll see that this isn't rubies, this is crystal. It's just because I'm on the local, I'm not even on the online. But since you're most likely playing online, this will be rubies. Anyways, this is one option. It is to sell it, get some rubies, and maybe you can use those rubies to either buy something you want, or you can upgrade something you already have. The other option is right here, there's going to be an auction house. You can go over to the auction house and list it on there and see if you can sell it to another player online. And the third option would be you got a friend that's playing Marauder. You could always throw it over to them. But yeah, we got unlucky, guys. This is not something that we can use. So let's just get rid of it. I'm going to go ahead and sell it. Yes, I want to sell this. Let's craft another one and see if we get any luckier. This time I'm going to say I saved up enough to get a weapon. Wow. Well, there we go. We found a saw that my guy can use. The chances of it happening was, I mean, 50-50, but still, who would have thought I'd get a saw? So let's go ahead and equip that saw. And you see that our damage went up extremely high just from a level 1 saw. So the difference, here's what I was wearing, I think. One of these. I don't know. Let's say it was this one. So 12.5k. And then I put on this Satanic one. 42.5k. So the difference is quite enormous. It just is. The difference between a mythic and a Satanic. Like, you see the base damage on this? Now look at the base damage on this. See the difference? It's like 21,000. It's ridiculous. So with that being said, there are some more stuff inside of the smith that we should go over. Inside of the mining section, you'll see there's upgrade tokens, there's reroll tokens, there's ability tokens, and there's Satanic Dice. Let's go ahead and go over those right now. Alright, so let's take this saw for example, and it rolled with an 87% quality. That's not the worst in the world. That's actually really good, because once you get to Inferno mode, the lowest quality you are going to find is 75%. So if you find anything that's 75% while you're in the highest difficulty, which happens to be Inferno this season, season 12, it will be 75% if it's the lowest. And if you happen to get the highest roll, that would be 100%. Don't expect it to be 100%. It's going to be 99 most likely. Anyways, let's go ahead and take the saw and use some upgrade tokens. You'll see that because it's a satanic and it's not super high rarity of a satanic, meaning tier list. There is a tier list. Depending on what tier it is, it might ask for more upgrade tokens, it might ask for more ability tokens, it might ask for more reroll tokens. It's just a tiered list, and that's something that you'll find out as you play. Usually you can tell a tier by looking at its level requirement. So sometimes you'll see a satanic that says 68 level requirement. That's usually considered like a D to C tier. If you see one that says level 88, it's probably a B tier. And once it gets to level 100 requirement, it's somewhere between A tier to SS tier. And S tier would be like a boss set item. And if it was something that was more rare of a drop, it would be like an SS drop. So that being said, let's go ahead and go to upgrade. There are two upgrade options. There is upgrade using rubies, which right here is crystals. And that would be 3,500 for this. Or if you happen to have upgrade tokens, you can use one upgrade token. So just for the video, I'll go ahead and show you what it's like to use an upgrade token. Ooh, upgraded once. See that it's 2 out of 10. You'll see that everything on it for the most part went up. And now if we wanted to use another upgrade token, it now says the next upgrade will now take 2 upgrade tokens. Well, how much will it be if I was to upgrade it with rubies instead? Exactly the same. It doubled. So whatever it was at the initial price or initial token is going to get doubled on the next one. So let's upgrade this to the max and see how many tokens it took. Started with 1 token, 2 tokens. The next one says it's going to be 3. So it didn't double, but it did add an extra one. So I guess what it's going to be is whatever the initial amount was, it's going to add an extra one to it. So yeah, this is going to be technically 3,500 rubies times 3. And the next one is times 4. The next one is times 5. And the next one is times 6. And so on and so on and so on. Until the final roll where you want to get to 10 out of 10, it's going to cost 9. Alright, so now we have a maxed out Doom Saw. Still 87%, that doesn't change. And now we can see that everything is pretty much ridiculously better. So that was upgrade tokens. Next, we're going to go ahead and take a look at reroll tokens. So what does a reroll token do? Reroll token is something that will change the quality of your actual gear. So since we know that we have 87%, let's go ahead and try to reroll it and see if we can get better. There is a 50-50 chance it'll get worse. So let's give it a shot. 1 reroll token. We check. Looks like it got worse. It was at 87%. Let's try again. Alright. It went up a little, it's at 80%, but it's still not good enough. Let's go ahead and try again. All right, it went up to 93%. There is a chance that if I try further than this, it'll go back down, but it's up to you what you decide you want to do. I'm just going to keep doing it until we get it up to 99%. Let's check to see how many times it takes. 82%, 83, 86,
90, 93, 75, 84, 94, 84, 89, 97, 84, 83, 77, 83, 77, 87, 80, 90, 77. This is getting ridiculous. Let's keep going. 94, 88, 91, 95, 87. This might take all day, folks.
How many reroll tokens is this thing gonna take to get to 99? Ooh, we hit 98. Should we stop? For the sake of this video, I am going to stop. Alright. So, 98. That's what we rolled it at. I have no idea how many tokens it took. You go ahead and tell me down below in the comments if you added them. I will now show you guys what ability tokens do. So, as you can see, the saw in its own has an ability called Hellfire. If I was to sit here and continually hit, you'll see that eventually these strands of fire crawl across the ground. That's what Hellfire is. So, why do I need ability tokens? Can I put them on my jacket? Can I put them on my hat? Can I put them on my boots? The answer to that is no. Ability tokens can only be used on weapons, and you can only have 2 abilities on one weapon at one time. If you use an ability token, it will never reroll the ability that's already on your weapon, but it will add a secondary one below it. If you use the second one, it will reroll that ability though, so be careful and don't use an ability token if you like what you got. Let's go ahead and add an ability token to the saw and see what we get. Looks like it's going to use 1 ability token. Alright, looks like we got the ability Lightning Fury. If we go over and test this, it looks like nothing changed, but you'll see that a lightning shock came out. That's basically what this is. There's a chance for you to do a lightning shock that will come off of your body and hit the target. Is it worth it? That's completely up to you. You can decide if you like that ability. Let's try for another ability. Bash. Alright, what does Bash do? Bash is a skill that will appear every once in a while, and when it does, it tends to stun the enemy that you're attacking. This works very well on bosses and hard to kill mobs. It's not the best perk that there is for an ability, but it's definitely not bad. I think that if you roll this, you should give it a shot and see if you like it. Let's try one more time and see what we get. Cold Snap. Alright. Cold Snap is the ability to freeze an enemy. So you might be fighting and you'll see that for a second the dummy turned blue. That basically froze the enemy and or slowed them down. So it's not a bad ability in general. It might not be the most damaging ability, but it does work. Anyways, there you have it on tokens. Ability tokens, upgrade tokens, reroll tokens. What else do we have? Oh, yeah, Satanic Dice. So, what is Satanic Dice and what can it do? Alright, so Satanic Dice is something you can perform on an item to try to get its quality to go over 100%. There is a 50-50 chance that your item is going to break. What happens if it breaks? I'll show you in a second. This is gonna hurt, but I'm gonna do it. So, Satanic Dice. Once you have your item 10 out of 10 maxed out, you can now upgrade it with a Satanic Dice. It will not work if your item is not 10 out of 10 already. So, we have an item that's at 98%. That's pretty close to 100 already. But let's see what happens when we use a Satanic Dice. Either it's going to jump in quality or it's going to break. Let's watch and find out. Alright, so you can see that the item went from 98% to 100. That is pretty dang good already. Should you stop? Or should you use another Satanic Dice? This is something I don't recommend. I don't recommend you giving me the option to choose for you. You should definitely choose on your own. It's something that hurts me deep inside whenever my item breaks. Should you go further? It's up to you, but what I do recommend is that you have at least a spare weapon or item to upgrade later if you do happen to break the item that you're doing the dice with. It's painful. Definitely don't want to upgrade an item unless you have a spare. So let's, for the sake of the video, continue until this item either gets to the max, which is 115%, or it breaks. See what happens with the second dice. Looks like it was a success and it went up by +1. How many percent can a Satanic Dice go up? Is it only 1% or 2%? The way it works is it has the chance to go up 1% or all the way up to 4% per roll, or it breaks. So 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, or it breaks. So let's try again. Let's use a third one. Oh my god. Our item is at 104% now. I want to stay, but for the sake of the video, we'll do it again. So it went from 98 to 100, 100 to 101, and 101 to 104. Let's try again. Oh my gosh, 106. Alright. I'm not gonna look, guys. Not looking. One more try. Did it work? Oh my gosh. It's at 108. Alright. I'm just gonna keep going until it breaks or it passes this time. 109. 110. 111. 112. 114. Oh my gosh, guys. It's one away from being max. I've never rolled a 115% before. Can it happen on this video? I don't know what to say. Alright, well, with that being said, I guess 115%, ridiculous. It's not probably going to happen for you, but I mean, as you can see, there's a chance. There's definitely a chance. So let's try another item and see if it'll break. Because for the sake of this video, I need to show you guys what a broken item is. Let's do this. 101, 105, 106, 107, 108, 50. Alright, there we go. We did it. I still can't believe that got to 108 though. So anyways, when an item breaks, the quality goes down to 50%. Not only that, but you'll see up at the top, it says your item is a corrupted Satanic now. Corrupted meaning that it's broken and it can no longer be fixed. Why is this so bad? Why is 50% so bad? Well, if I go up to this, you'll see now I can't do any upgrades or rerolls or anything like that. But if I go to like this one, it says I can use a dice on it. If I go to this one, it says I can add an ability and all that stuff. Well, I mean, it is max upgraded, so it won't let me use an upgrade token anyway. But I can't reroll it. I have plenty of reroll tokens. If I go to here and I look, I have 9,961 of them. So why can't I reroll it? It's because the item is busted and you no longer can upgrade it any further. This is something to watch for in the market when you're trying to buy items off of other players. They might list items that are decent, but they're busted and they're trying to get full price for it. Make sure you check the quality and that the item's not busted, because you'll feel like you got ripped off if you bought the item at full price and it's busted. Alright, so there's one thing I want to point out, and that's this. Each character in this game has 2 sets of gear, and those sets can drop at random from any mob or any boss. One of the sets that happens to work really well with the Redneck is the Lumberjack set. The Lumberjack set is new to Season 12, but it works really well with a special ability that the Redneck has. The Redneck has an ability called Firebreak, and with this set, you have all the pieces on, which there's actually 4, but you only need 3 out of the 4 to get the set to work. So with the set bonus, it says Firebreak now has 3 charges and increases the damage. So whenever I use this ability, it now goes off 3 times instead of once, and its damage is significantly more. So as you're running around in the hardest difficulty, one thing to remember is your character has 2 different sets in this game, unless you're playing Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer, for some reason, only has 1 set. Maybe in Season 13 or beyond, they'll make a 2nd set, but for now, he only has 1. With that being said, looking for a set is something that will help you out at the beginning. Maybe there are friends that you have that found a piece of your set and they can't use it because they're not on the right character. This might help you out because they might be willing to give it to you, or they might be willing to trade you for something that they might want. So as you're going through the game, remember that you have a set or 2 sets, depending on what characters you're using, and they can help you significantly as pieces that you can put on your initial setup. It might not be your best end game setup, but it will help you significantly in the hardest difficulty. Alright, so there's one more thing that I want to talk about, and that is Ruby keys. What is a Ruby key? How do I get a Ruby key? My friend has a Ruby key. What does he do with it? Alright, so a Ruby key just looks like a typical regular key, but it's red. How do I get these keys? There are multiple ways to find them. They can randomly drop off of a mob in a level at random. It could drop off of a breach portal mob that you kill. It could come out of a chaos shrine. It could come off of a boss shrine. It could just fall off of a boss in general. It has a higher chance to drop off of Damien, the Uber boss, but it's not something that's super common. You won't find a lot of them throughout the season, but it does happen, and you probably will find one at some point. So how do I use that? Well, go to the waypoint and go to the chapel over here right before Act 6. Once you're here, you'll see this area with what seems to be some shiny looking ruby rocks that says Magic Rubies. Well, if you happen to have a ruby key, you can walk up to it, you can speak to it and say open up Ruby Gardens. Once you've opened that up, you'll get a portal that says Ruby Gardens, and you can go straight in. What is significant about Ruby Gardens? Well, Ruby Gardens is surrounded by a bunch of goblins, and these goblins will drop a lot of rubies for you. And on top of that, they will also be kind of hard. So make sure that you're a high enough level before you come here, because as you can see, even though I have a 115% saw now, these guys are doing some heavy damage to me still. They're also not insta-dying. Why? The monster level is 575. You definitely want to watch out when you're here. These guys will hit really hard. It's higher than any of the maps on the base difficulty. And as you can see, anything can happen. You can get satanic drops if you're lucky. Doesn't happen very often. These guys can also drop relics if you don't happen to have relics. At the very end, there's a chest. And the chest is why most people come in here to begin with. I'll show you in 1 sec. Alright, now that the map is cleared, you'll see that there's a chest right here. If I run over and hit this chest, out will pop a bunch of rubies. There you go. You normally get somewhere between 90 to like 120,000 rubies when you come into this dungeon. So that's why ruby keys are very valuable. Players will buy it from you if you don't want it. I can't tell you how much they will go for because it changes season to season. But what I can tell you is if you happen to find the ruby key, wait to use it because of how hard this dungeon actually is. Like I said, 575 monster level. Just think about how bad you'd feel if you found something as rare as a ruby key, came in here, and then got one-shotted by a mob. If that happens, poof, your ruby key is gone, and you're gonna have to just go along your game. You're done. You can't come back. There's no way to put a portal down, so you can't leave and come back. You're just basically SOL. You're out of luck. So make sure if you're gonna come in here, you're prepared and you don't die. So I have players asking me all the time, what is the best way to make rubies in this game? How do I get a bunch of rubies? What's the fastest way to do it? What do you recommend? Well, what I recommend is this. Each and every one of these acts has a boss at the end. When you fight these bosses and you beat them, there's a big chance to get a lot of rubies afterwards. The rubies are dependent on RNG. You can get like 1200 rubies, you can get 800 rubies, you could get 1000 rubies. Somewhere between there is a fine line that you're going to get an average of around 1000 every boss. So if you can clear an act boss and its room really super quick, that's probably the best way to get rubies. However, if you happen to have friends, which I recommend you have friends, what you can do is have each one go to a separate act boss. Once they've gotten to the act boss room, they don't activate the boss yet. They put a portal down and they head back to town. Once everybody has a portal in town, every single one of you meets up and goes through that exact portal. So let's say you went to like the first act boss, you guys all kill it, you all get 1000 rubies, then you go back through that portal back to town and you move on to the next one. So you'll go to like Reaper boss, and then vice versa, vice versa, vice versa. By the time all 4 of you clear the 4 bosses, you should each have around 4000 rubies. This would be the fastest possible way to get rubies really early on, is if you play with a group of friends. Also on top of that, since you will be probably using a guild, you'll also get more ruby drops from that, so definitely work on leveling up your guild as you go. Where else can I get rubies? Well, remember how I mentioned going and using those satanic keys on the dungeons earlier before, such as like smelly cheese on Rat Den? If you happen to go to Rat Den and clear it, there's a chest at the end, and that chest will guarantee rubies every time. The most rubies you can get out of it is somewhere between 4,000 to 5,000, but expect to get somewhere between 1,000 to like 3,000. But after you've cleared the last level of all of its mobs, a box will then activate and let you open it. And inside that box is guaranteed rubies every time. So, definitely another way to get a bunch of rubies saved up is if you have a bunch of keys, or if you and a bunch of your friends have a bunch of keys and you can do rotations. This would be another great way to get rubies really quick. I don't think I have to mention this, but ruby key, obviously, you can get a lot of rubies real quick if you happen to have that. You also happen to have a bunch of Damien pieces, like I said, Uber Damien. He is extremely hard, but if you do happen to kill him, he will drop around 13 to 15,000 rubies at the end. So that is something that you can look forward to if you guys have a bunch of pieces and you can, as a team, maybe kill Uber Damien. You guys can farm it over and over for about 15,000 rubies a box. That is a really quick way to get rubies as well. Alright, so here's Uber Damien, and this is why I recommend not fighting him until you're ready. You can see he has 1.8 billion HP. I am still using my crap gear that I just barely got. He is spamming blood waves everywhere. He's still not taking like any damage. My minion's trying to do damage to him, but yeah, this is not going too smoothly. This is just me fighting by myself. Yeah. Trying my best to dodge the blood beams. Those could one-shot me. Oh, I almost got one-shotted right there by a blood beam. Looks like for some reason he is chasing me. He spawned a bunch of mobs at random. Try to get him back over here. Wake my minion back up. There's no way I would try doing this whatsoever if I was in hardcore mode. Only reason I would try doing this at all is if maybe I was playing softcore mode, because in hardcore mode, if you die, your whole account gets wiped, or I should say your whole character and all the stuff on him gets wiped, including your merc. But in softcore, the only thing you're risking is your relics. So I mean, if you feel like you can take this and you want to go really slow like this to try to take him on, maybe you want a challenge, maybe you want something like this, that's up to you. I don't recommend it though. It's kind of a waste of time because more than likely you're going to get killed by the time he summons his head. Because once he hits a certain point, guys, his head comes off, just like in the initial battle of Damien. And his head will chase you around the room. His head does some pretty good damage too, so more than likely you're not going to survive. But anything's possible. Oh, see? Killed by Damien's head. I didn't even see it pop off. That's how fast it can happen. Just like Uber Damien, Uber Reaper is just as bad. The only difference is Uber Reaper has about 3 times as much HP as Uber Damien, and he seems to do the same attacks over and over, so it's just a pattern game for him. You learn his pattern, you can bob and weave the whole time, and it's not too hard. The only problem, like I said, is he has 3 times the HP as Uber Damien. So definitely not worth using dimensional shards to activate the portal in Shadow Realm if you can't kill 3 billion HP that fast. On top of that, Uber Damien, you can go in with 4 friends, and Uber Reaper, you have to fight solo. So I don't recommend taking on Uber Reaper until you can do a lot of damage. So Uber Reaper, like I mentioned, isn't really something I would recommend for you guys to take on anytime soon when first getting to the hardest difficulty. Uber Reaper will have a lot of HP and do a lot of damage. The mobs alone are 666 difficulty for monster level, and you can't withstand hits from them. You're definitely not going to be able to withstand a hit from Reaper. This might not go so well, but here we go. I'm going to give it a shot. $3.7 billion HP. He spams a bunch of skulls. That's his main skill right off the bat. Looks like he might be stunned. Not sure why, but he's not moving. So we might have got super lucky. Oh, he's about to do a skill, it looks like. I'm not sure. Oh, nope, not yet. Oh man, we actually did it. We got super lucky. We stunned him to death. That doesn't always happen, but keep in mind things like that can happen. So now that we cleared the area and the boss, there is a chest, and looks like we got 15,000 rubies. One thing that I showed off in the tutorial video but wasn't able to actually show an example of is a Chaos Shrine. Once you hit the Chaos Shrine, there's a good chance anything can happen, really. Let's just see what happens. Alright, so inside of the Chaos Shrine, it summoned a black tower portal. This just allows me to basically go do the black tower without having to use a key. And at the end, there's guaranteed to be a bunch of runes inside the box and gonna get rubies at the same time. So it's definitely worth going in and doing if you have the time and you feel like you're safe enough. The Black Tower will have 500 monster level worth of enemies, so if you can't take on 500 monster level, I don't recommend it. But free rubies and runes if you can clear the whole thing. Something cool to point out about the abandoned mine is once you've cleared it, at the very end there's a chest that basically guarantees you're going to get ore from it. This actually makes mining almost not worth it, in my opinion, because if you happen to just farm around and get enough keys saved up, rusted keys that is, you can come and open this chest and you're guaranteed a big stack of jade and a big stack of rubies. That's just my opinion. I would rather do this than mine, but do what you want. So I did mention, guys, in the tutorial video I did, that there are these chaos towers, and you can find them in any difficulty currently. But in the hardest difficulty, when you go into these chaos towers, you will see that there is a quest line over here. This quest line available through will allow you to move through the tower and finally get to a boss at the end. So if you want to fight that boss, or if you want to complete, let's say, one tower, once you complete one tower, it'll go to 1 out of 10. And then when you get back here and talk to the tower master a second time, it'll say towers completed 1. And you can say, I want to claim reward. And this fence will then disappear and there'll be a box over there for you to claim. That's only if you really want to claim the reward. There is the possibility to just say let me in instead, and if you want to go in instead, then you'll fight the second round of the tower and you'll keep moving your way up till you get to 10 out of 10, and that's when you can fight the boss. Once you've completed the quest that does 10 out of 10 on the tower, now it's time for you to take on the boss if you want. Like I said, you can always just say claim and get a reward and start the tower over from 1. But now that you're already at 10, what's stopping you? You might as well go ahead and try the boss. Keep in mind this boss is not easy, usually, and it has a potential to one-shot you. So keep that in mind as you're going into the boss room. Activate the puzzle by hitting the switches. You don't need to talk to this guy unless you want the quest to complete, but you don't get anything for completing the quest, so most of us players just skip this part and just go to the boss fight. Once you're in here, to take on a group of mobs first, and then the boss will jump down and fight you one-on-one. It's like it's monster level 580. You'll see the monster level change, kind of RNG, and it'll also be harder if you happen to have friends in your fight with you. You have to solo this boss, don't get me wrong, but if you have friends inside of your game waiting for you to take on the boss will have more HP and be harder. Whew. That was a close one. Alright, so there's no guarantee that the boss is actually going to drop anything, but he does have the potential to drop some really amazing set items. As far as taking on the boss, it's a risk, but sometimes it's very rewarding. As you can see, I didn't get anything, so let's go ahead and just leave. Man, that was close though. Anyways, after you're done with that fight, you can find another tower and you can turn in your reward, or you can continue to further press on to Tower 11 and continue going up until 20, which is at the next boss. Technically, according to what we were told, the higher the amount of towers cleared, the better your reward will be when you turn it in. So if you want to risk moving up the ladder as far as you can for a better reward, totally can. It starts getting ridiculous though after like 30 or 40 waves. I have done it and I don't recommend it because sometimes you'll turn in the reward and get absolute garbage even though you waited a long time. And that hurts almost more than dying. So it's up to you if you want to go ahead and continue on pushing, or if you want to turn in at 10, it's very optional. Do what you want to do. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I helped you, and if you have more questions, feel free to comment below, or check me out on Twitch. I am live Monday through Fridays. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next video.